Welcome everyone to episode 171 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pantellaresco. I write stuff and podcast too. Today is the start of a very unique little event. 2 months ago, MJ and Colette contacted me to be a part of it. It is the Sweet and Sultry Summer Festival, the first romantic and erotic writers festival. I was really flattered to be asked to do this. I got to interview a bunch of talented women and other authors, naked readers, poets, and a litany of other individuals as well. It was totally a ton of fun to be a part of. I have to admit I was a little worried at first because this is a little bit outside my wheelhouse, but that's one of the reasons why I did it too. It's good to get outside your comfort zone a little bit, and this definitely was a great experience. So this was 4 hours of interviews, so I'm obviously not going to do a full 4-hour podcast here. I'm breaking this up into 3 parts. Part 1 is here. Danielle French, Katie O'Connor, Shelley Kassian, Nancy Bell, and Keely Kamikaze are my guests in this particular episode. 2 small things, and then we'll get right to it. Thing number 1 was this was supposed to be initially streamed. Unfortunately for us, the location is the one place in town that doesn't have a stable wireless connection. C'est la vie. Number 2. This is not quite a standard format for me. This was a 15-minute conversation on average for each woman because obviously with the amount of guests I interviewed, the ability to do a normal standard full conversation just isn't possible. But hopefully this will give you a great taste of what each and every woman does, because every one of them brought something unique and amazing to the presentation. And yeah, like I said, I had a blast with all of them. So, ladies, thank you very much for having me on, talking to me, and putting up with me for the 15 minutes you had to. All right, let's get to it, shall we? Keely is part of the Naked Girls reading of Calgary. She's also, which is exactly what it sounds, I promise you. She's also a big part of, she's an activist. Ice cream, totally ice cream. So I was about to introduce. I was actually doing a quick introduction of you.
For sure.
So you are Keely Kamikaze.
Yes.
Yes. So can I ask why the name Kamikaze?
That's a good question. It just, you know what? I don't come in gently.
Okay.
Like one of those kamikaze pilots.
Yes.
No shame, no filter, just right in there.
I've been needing more and more of that lately as I've gotten older, actually.
It's so much better, isn't it? 'Cause it's just like bam.
It's refreshing because you don't. There's no like. I think the big thing about like when you're younger, there's a certain degree of bullshit you just put up with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, a certain degree of bullshit, and as you get older, you're like, why the fuck am I doing this? And I have the exact.
No fucks to give. Right? Yeah, no, I am 100% with you on that.
Yeah, no, it's ironic. You know, I was with a friend last night, and one of the things she pointed out was, no one really cares about how you are, right? So I mean, so if that's the case, you might as well just have fun and be yourself.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah, I mean, if no one really cares, then you know what? Why not just have fun with it? You'll care, you'll feel a lot better, and you'll need less alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Well, it doesn't mean you don't drink alcohol, you just need less of it, you know what I mean?
It's like you don't require it anymore.
Yeah, that's right. I've adulted and stuff like that.
I love that.
Yeah, or something to that effect. So,
can you steal this water?
That is for you.
Awesome, thank you.
This
Mine's almost done.
Yes. So okay, so I gotta ask this. You do the Naked Girls reading.
Yes.
So how did that come about?
Are we on the podcast now?
We are totally on the podcast
fantastic.
now.
So Naked Girls Reading is actually a franchise that is all over the world. And I happened to talk to the right person at the right time, and Edmonton has a chapter, and I'd always wanted to read with them, but it was always midweek, and I could never make it up there. So I never actually read before I started my own chapter in Calgary, and it just happened to be right place, right time, where I talked to the right person, and they were like, would you like to start a chapter in Calgary? Yes, I would. That sounds wonderful. And my life totally changed. I am not the same person as I was almost 2 years ago when I first started this. So we're approaching our 2-year anniversary.
So I'm going to ask this then.
Yeah.
Who were you 2 years ago?
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
Not a feminist, surprisingly. I was, but I didn't realize that I was until I started doing Naked Girls Reading.
So help me out with something. Okay, no. And this is actually this is something I've been kind of wrestling with in my head. It's ironic. I have inadvertently, even with this podcast, the majority of my guests are women. most of the people I work with in my writing career are women.
Okay, yeah.
Right? And again, I truly believe like it's all about ability. It has nothing really to do like what you are, right? It's about what you bring to the table. And that's a very important thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never really considered myself exactly a feminist. I'm just like more of an equal rights.
That's feminist.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all. The word feminist has been taken and had a bad association to like put with it, like a feminazi or something like that. I wish I had more of the history of feminism to kind of jump into it with you, but working on that, getting more information every time I go outside.
I should introduce you a friend of mine named Liana Kersner.
Yes, yeah, no, I think I know them.
Redhead Toronto.
That sounds
Liana is really cool. She's one of the few people I associate with. I feel like I'm actually like dumber than because she's a really sharp woman.
Fantastic. And so people like that can help us like learn and grow about feminism. But really, all it boils down to is equality for all.
Yeah.
So if that means wearing a burqa, that's feminism because that's their choice, right? Mm-hmm. Versus I want to wear a bikini or I want to be naked or I want to do whatever I want to do. I want to, show my body. I don't want to show my body. That's feminism, is having that choice and following through on that choice. Where, like the patriarchy can sometimes like hold us down by like, no, you can't show your nipples in public. I'm trying to fight against that right now as well, which is ridiculous because sometimes there's men's breasts that are bigger than mine.
Yes.
And they're allowed to be topless. So why is it a problem? Why are we over-sexualizing women's breasts? So that's a really big issue I'm trying to fight against with Naked Girls Reading, actually, too.
Yeah. Is that a big reason why you do it?
Yeah. So what it does is it really separates nudity from sexuality. Mm-hmm. So most people these days, you're taught from like little, you're naked, you're being sexual. Like no matter what, you're unclothed, you're automatically being sexual. Oh, look what she was wearing. Oh, she was asking for it, right? It's all about associating that with sexuality versus teaching people that you can be fully naked and fully not sexual at the exact same time.
I have a friend who she when she trusted you, mm-hmm. she was a nudist around you, right? It was at first I got like from the outside looking at it, it's distracting at first because it's a different.
It's different. It's kind of shocking system for like a minute.
Yeah, and then after that you're like, okay, this is the thing.
Yeah.
Actually, the hilarious part is if she is trying to ogle you at that point, it doesn't have the same impact anymore because it's like I've already seen everything.
Exactly. It becomes this like it's not a mystery anymore. And that's why actually being topless in public will actually help with that because it's no longer shocking. It's no longer oh my god breasts. It's oh look it's breasts. It's normal. You normalize it.
Well, I think a big thing you're fighting is like in my opinion is something like television. Because television, especially American television.
Don't even get me started on that. Good lord. Well, it's such a stupid thing that we can't even show like sex scenes or it's like shocking the violence. No problem at all.
Yeah, no, it's actually the weirdest thing. It's like I was thinking about it, it's like I think of the two, I would rather see boobs. One, they're more fun. Two,
also true.
Yes. Two. I mean, honestly, I would rather that be the norm than someone's brains blown out on TV or someone killed. I mean, in terms and like. The world is a nasty enough place already. Mm-hmm. I would rather show something that's actually normalize something that's actually by and large a bodily function.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, and that's just it. Breasts are not inherently sexual. We've made them sexual. And so by taking a show like Naked Girls Reading and having naked women stand on stage and read a book, you forget they're naked within about 30 seconds. It's pretty cool. So you end up sitting there listening, sometimes people with their eyes closed, sometimes looking at the reader because there can be like gestures and things, but for the most part you don't even notice that they're naked. And it's so important to contribute against rape culture. Yeah. Because again, she was asking for it, look what she was wearing kind of mentality, this fights against that because, she was naked but she's saying no. Awesome. No means no versus, she's naked, she's asking for it. Right? So that's a really big thing. And also with the normalizing of the nudity to again make it not like just the not sexual and promoting like feminism and the fact that I'm choosing to do this. And women in society historically have been very put down over our nudity in the past. Like, even still we can't breastfeed in public, things like that. And again, just like the history of it, we're so put down over our nudity. And this is taking that back and kind of creating like this powerful thing that we're making a statement. We're saying, look, we're intelligent, we're reading books, and we're fucking naked. Fuck you. Like it's this really amazing feminist thing that I didn't even realize I was a feminist until I started doing this.
It's like, I'm naked. Fuck you.
Yeah, just like whatever.
Is that your like open intro when you actually go on the stage? I'm naked. Like
we should do that now.
I just see you now and say, hi, I'm Keely Kamikaze. I'm naked, and I see a big giant middle finger, and let's begin.
Yeah.
And we just begin, right?
Yeah.
And then that will.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a really fun thing.
Yeah. So you're fanning on naked girls reading your pants. So
Yeah.
how many people are in your troop? Is that a right way, the right term for
You know
that?
what? Not really. Just because.
Yeah.
So I run the Calgary chapter, but there is no such thing as like our troop where you can join. Or like anybody can read.
Yeah.
You just have to let me know in advance, and I'll put you in the show. And no worries. New readers always get a guaranteed spot. Because I always want to promote, like, I want everyone to be able to experience this, because it is one of the most empowering things anybody can ever do. And so our regular monthly show, we accept anybody who doesn't identify as male. So everybody else, like gender fluid, non-binary, or female identified, we accept everybody regardless of what your body looks like or what genitals you have. So trans people, fully welcome to come read. It doesn't matter, because it's not about your body. It's about our minds, and it's about promoting this wonderful feminist thing. Every year, actually in June, we also have a naked guys reading show where it's specific to male identified people, and the rest of the shows are for everybody else. But it's not just naked guys, it's naked guys reading feminist literature, and holy shit, that show is so powerful. It's one of my absolute favorites to run, just because it's so different, and the guys in the city asked for it. So when I started doing this 2 years ago, the guys were like, well, what about us? We want to read naked too. So I had to get special permission from the franchise, because of course the brand is Naked Girls Reading. And so they gave me permission for one show a year, which we are the only chapter in Canada to be allowed to do this. And the only other chapters that do a naked guys show are in Chicago and New York.
Oh, wow.
Which says a lot. So the fact that we've run 2 very successful naked guys reading feminist literature shows says something to me, that this city is ready for change. We're ready to embrace it.
So let's think about this. You read, so I'm going to ask this, do you write?
I don't personally, but we actually accept self-written materials all the time. So I don't censor anything in any of my shows. As long as you can make it fit the theme, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's totally fair. The only time where I've said not no to a reading, but just like not now, is because the theme was so... it's kind of like, so the next show coming up is 1 act plays and short scenes. So it's more theater based. And she wanted to read this really amazing, like, feminist, like, Black Power piece. And I was like, yes, but out of context, it would lose some of its power. So that's the only time I've ever said no, which I'm just like, let's find another show to fit this.
Yeah, it's like no, but like not really no.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Like, it's not now. Because, like, I just didn't want it to lose its power, because it's going to be such a great piece, but I want it to be appreciated in the context of what it is, versus like, oh, why is this here, and people kind of questioning it, and thinking maybe it's fiction versus fact or something like that.
All right. So my question to you is, how often are the readings?
Every month.
Every month.
Yes.
Where are they located?
So we bounce back and forth between Club Rendezvous up in the Northeast, because they're not afraid of nudity. It is just a space though, so the event itself is non-sexual, even though it's held at a lifestyle club. It's a room that we rent, and hey, feminism is for swingers too, right? So who knows? But I get lots of people who are just afraid to come to the space, even though it's just a room. And our event is in no way, like, we love performing there because they appreciate us and they welcome us, but we're not a club art event. This is not a swingers event.
No.
And then we bounce back and forth between that and Twisted Element, which is downtown, and that's a brand new venue for us, and we're thrilled to be there. They've treated us so well.
They're a fun spot.
Yeah. And
actually, they're the only bar I've ever been to. I've actually felt zero pressure to try to get laid.
It's fantastic, right? It's a really like open, safe environment. And yeah, like really great. There's an actual stage. It's lovely.
Yeah.
And yeah, the management has just treated us super well. So we actually have a Pride show coming up on August 30th that will be celebrating LGBTQ readers and themes. So yeah, that's our August show for Pride. August 11th will be at Club Rendezvous, and it is local authors. So whoever the new readers or whoever the readers in their mind are local. So whoever they want to translate that, that's fine. And again, July 4th is our one-act plays and short scenes, so that's more theater-based. And then October 5th is our 2-year anniversary to the day, and we're celebrating banned books. So any book that's ever been banned in the history of the world in any country for any reason can be read at this show.
Cool.
Yeah.
I read a whole bunch of the band stuff, so that's all fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, all right. So I guess you're more in your face.
Mm-hmm.
You're more comfortable with yourself.
Yes.
My last question for you before we go is, who do you see yourself as now? We're gonna ask a big one.
That's a deep question.
I don't go for the. I don't go into.
You don't mince words, yeah. I haven't read, right? So I definitely see myself as an activist for nude rights in Calgary. So I run a top event where we wear these bathing suits that look like we're topless, and I'm wearing one right now because you can't see it on the podcast. And I just flashed our host, and he just laughed. But from a distance, you look topless. So again, we're just fighting for that normalcy in being naked in Calgary. I attend the nude swims frequently. So something I'm very passionate about is getting those rights back and just taking away the shaming of nudity. Like it's ridiculous. Like the nude swim. Look at the amount of crazy protesters. Fighting.
This will definitely be a longer. This would be a longer conversation than the time we're allotted. Actually,
That's fair, yeah. I will talk about this for hours.
Because the interesting thing, I mean, if we ever have you again on the show, I know one thing I definitely would like to talk to you about is porn and strip clubs.
Yes.
Because that I could see. I can see you not having an issue with them making a living. But the messages a lot of those places promote are kind of contrary to what you're trying to fight.
It isn't and isn't.
Yeah.
And again, this is a deeper conversation.
Yes,
for a different time,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
But the biggest thing to remember is that, again, feminism is whatever your choice is. So if they want to strip, that's fine,
it's
right?
not
things like that.
It's not the choice aspect that you're fighting there. It's what you're fighting there is the big. I read a really good comic book called Transmetronomy, and one of the issues talked about the porn industry, and where the porn industry makes their money isn't the fact that. Is the shame, is the fact that it's a little creepy, it's a little dirty, it's a little forbidden. That's part of the allure, right? Yeah. So, like I said, that's a deeper conversation for another day.
I have someone I could bring on. We actually had this whole conversation about feminist porn.
Yes.
And I had never heard of this before, and now I'm like, oh yeah, this makes so much more sense. But yeah, that's a different conversation.
That's a deeper one than what we have.
That's a longer conversation.
Yeah. But that to me, that's an interesting dynamic. Again, has nothing to do with what a stripper chooses to do for a living. It has nothing to do with what the porn star chooses to do for a living.
Yeah.
It's everything to do with what the industry itself promotes.
Again, we're fighting against those stigmas no matter what we do. This is just one way that we're fighting is through naked girls reading and wearing these tops and shocking people in public, and it's super fun.
You must get a kick out of that.
Oh hell yeah! It's really funny to walk around the park. So the first event we did, we just went for a 2-hour walk. We just did a couple laps around Princess Island Park, and some of the looks we got. Some people are high-fiving us, and some people are just covering their children's eyes in shock. It's so, even though it's just a bathing suit top, if you look closely, but it proves a point.
Oh yeah, no.
It really does. So it's really hilarious to watch people's reactions and see them recoil.
Okay, so we are out of time, I think, for now. So, but it was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And so, really quick, how can people find you?
Naked Girls Reading Calgary on Facebook. So Naked Girls Reading Calgary. On Twitter, we are Naked Girls, I think YYC or Naked Girls CGY. And then Instagram, we are Naked Girls Reading Calgary, all with underscores in between.
All right.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
Yes, you too.
And we should definitely talk again sometime.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd love to be back on your show and talk more in depth about this.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, you're Katie?
No, I'm Nancy.
Nancy. Okay, my schedule is this.
Yeah, we're bumped by 15 minutes because of our late start. So that was Keely, and now we're on 10.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Sorry.
I'll bring you a paper scale.
Hey, Nancy, how you doing?
Good.
So, what chaos and mayhem have you caused so far today?
Oh, we're trying to put together some big stand
Yeah.
hang up some huge posters.
How'd that go?
It's not going well.
I'm sorry.
We're missing pins.
It happens.
It does happen.
So, I'm gonna ask this because unfortunately my reading material is here.
Okay.
What do you write, and what has been going on in your career lately?
Okay, I write a number of genres actually. I write contemporary Western romance. I have a series that's set in Longview, Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also write young adult fantasy. And I have a trilogy that's set partly in Alberta and partly in Cornwall, England. And I'm just starting a new trilogy that with the same kids and like the same people in it that is set near Kincher Creek.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's called Wild Horse Rescue. So it basically there's a bunch of wild horses up by Sultry that the government keeps wanting to cull, and it's all kind of corrupt behind the scene. And so what I did was I moved those horses in my story down near Kincher Creek, and then we're going to sort of deal with the whole problem, not where it actually is. Just
So animal rights are a big thing for you?
yeah. There's always horses and dogs in my stories, and I volunteer for an animal rescue, and I do cat shifts, and then I also foster.
Oh wow. So we're gonna go there for a minute. So where did your love of animals come from? Did you grow up on a farm? Did you?
I grew up in Ontario, in sort of on the very, very outskirts of Toronto.
Oh, okay.
Like back in the 60s, early 60s. So yes, I'm older than dirt.
It's okay.
I'm older than dirt.
It's okay.
So yes, I just dated myself terribly. But it was very rural, and my grandparents lived with us, and my grandfather was a gardener, and he taught me when I was a kid. He taught me how to pick up a bumblebee and a piece of Kleenex and take it outside, so you don't kill it, like that kind of stuff. So probably from him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's been. So you had you live you considering what you live. So I'm picturing this farm.
I live near Balzac, on the east side of the highway, and we have about 40 acres. And I only have 2 horses right now. I used to teach riding lessons. I was a certified English coach.
I was going to actually ask if you had done any horse riding, on a professional level, because I dated a barrel racer.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, once upon a time, and she really loved her horse. She's a really big animal person herself. I find that a lot of people that get involved with horses, dogs, and stuff like that, they're usually really big into that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, your relationship with your horse is very, very intimate. When everything works right and your horse is in balance and you're in balance, it's almost like you're looking through his eyes through the bridle. It's that kind of a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, I have a friend she has horses in her farm, and I always, whenever I go sit the saddle, ride a horse, she actually has a little bit of a grin.
Could you guys make sure nobody touches this?
Yes.
Because this is for a special event on the 1st.
That's totally fine.
Okay, just make sure no little kids coming because that's ice cream.
Yeah, I got you. Ice cream's very important.
Apparently.
You know how she just tempted me to actually just steal.
Go and get some?
Yes.
Yes. Just go out with it down my shirt.
Yeah. I totally almost want to see that now.
It would work. I'm cool.
Yeah, it's just no, actually, I find I was talking, the older I get, the less I care, and it's a very, very big thing. I've noticed, I don't worry about certain things anymore.
Life is too short.
Yeah, you gotta go, you gotta have fun, and you gotta do what really matters to you. So when did you get into writing? Is that
I have been writing. I have stuff I wrote in grade 4.
I'm jealous.
And I actually have in grade 7, one of our English projects our teacher had was we had to write a story. And I wrote, it was all handwritten in pencil, but I still have it, and I every once in a while I pull it out and I think I should just redo this, because
I don't think you should.
The storyline's not bad, but it's really badly executed.
Okay, so here's I've had this conversation with writers in the past.
Right.
So here's the challenge. Once upon a time, that person who you were then.
Exactly.
Right? Is it put everything they had into that? Technically, you're miles ahead of where you were then.
For sure, yeah.
But do you have the same heart for it they did?
It would be different for sure.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to take the spine and work from that. So it would be a radically different story.
I've seen it done. Like the most successful example I've ever seen that done is Terry Pratchett's Carpet People. That's the most successful one I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But even that one, he said it was a really hard thing.
It would be. It would be very hard to do.
Yeah, because he had to respect the guy that wrote this before. You can't just throw it away.
No, you can't.
So it can turn like goo in your hands. Right?
It would be very hard to do, and that's why it's still sitting the way it is, because.
The other thing too, I kind of like look at like this is my stuff right here, like stuff I've done, and I look at each one as a progression of where I was. Like I look at the first book and I cringe at it, right, a little bit on some things.
Yes.
Some things I look at and go, no, this I was a genius.
This was good. Yeah.
I was a genius.
I'm brilliant.
Yeah, that's right. But some of it's like, no, I cringe because I could do it better now. Right? I think there's a part of me that's like, I would do it differently now. Right? And because I'm not the same person anymore.
I had that conversation actually with Jack White at the Surrey Writers Conference, and he said, I opened that first book that I wrote, The Sky Stone, and he goes, I cringe. He goes, I'm like, oh my God, there's this crap. He goes, it sold like 1 million copies, but he said, because it's exactly the same thing, I'm not the person I was when I wrote that book.
Yeah.
You know, buried in, because he wrote his first book buried in his den in the office for 10 years. And he says, and occasionally I came out for air. And he said, like, I read it now, and I'm like, oh my God.
Well, yeah.
And it's exactly,
life experiences change you. Yes. Like this year I fixed my teeth. And when I fixed my teeth, I found that I could now write on more extreme levels now than I used to be able to. I can be stillier or I can be darker. And it's actually easier for me. But again, a year ago, I couldn't do that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I am of the firm belief that our stories are what we're telling them, are what we're writing. Right, but the thing is, so the more experiences you acquire in life, the deeper, the better your writing becomes, simply because you're doing more. It's in everything you do feeds your art, like everything. And so as a result, I kind of think that when I look at the whole process, that I have. My foundations are stronger and more solid with each book, and I'm much more clearer about what I'm actually trying to say.
Get across.
Yeah, I'm better at that than I was 10 years ago, and I'll be better 10 years from now, right? Yeah. Than I am now. At least that's the hope.
That's the hope. Yeah.
Yes,
that is the hope, that we grow as we go. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I hope so. I don't know if I'll ever get by the mental age of 12, but. In terms of like experiences teaching me more things about myself, who I am, what I do, there are things I want to do well into my 80s and to my 100s. I don't want to be one of those people that just go home and do nothing.
Right.
I think I'd die.
Yeah. I always have 50 things going.
Well, yeah, and then it'll be that way, hopefully, long. Like, I know, like, I used to think no regrets in this life. I want to do everything I set out to do. And then now I'm older and wiser, it's like, I can still have no regrets. But I'm okay now if I don't finish everything I set out to do. Right?
We learn to accept ourselves and our limitations more as we grow older. And there's things that were maybe important to me when I was 20 that aren't as important to me now.
Yeah.
And so if I leave that behind, that's okay.
Well, yeah, and that's it. And some things, like, you can't be the same. Now, I hope to have some of the same passion at 20 all the way through my life, because there's something about that is, like, I've seen people lifeless at 60, and, like, they're not because they're actually dead, but they're kind of a half zombie.
Yeah, and you want to keep that passion and spark that's intrinsic to who you are. You want to keep that. You know, like I still get radical about horses and animal abuse and different things, and I've been that way my whole life, and I'll probably be like that when I'm 80. Yeah,
well, that's a big part of who you are, right?
Exactly.
So you still ride?
I do a little bit, but I had a really bad crash about 15 years ago and got hung up on some farm equipment. And,
ow.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty, and so But I have a mare that I bred that's 18 now, and then she has he's an old penning horse that has navicular, so he's retired, so he just keeps her company. But they're kind of my sanity. Because, I mean, I've had her since she was a baby, since she was born. I had her mom. So I, like, when she hears the door open in the house, she comes to the fence and stuff. So yeah, she's never going anywhere.
Fair enough.
She will be there forever.
So what's your current work?
It's called Wild Horse Rescue. It's set in and around on a ranch in Pincher Creek. And Laurel Rowan is the heroine, and she's the heroine from the Cornwall Adventures, which is the adventures in England. And it sort of just deals with the ranchers that want the grazing land for their cattle, because they get grazing leases on Crown land, and so they don't want the horses there for some reason. And so they sit on a committee, on a government committee, that decides whether there will be a cull or not, which is a huge conflict of interest, but apparently it's okay with the government.
We live in we have come to an age where government. This is not what I expect this conversation to go, but no, it's okay. I don't particularly mind. We live in an age now where where there's a big merger between government and corporate interests, and unfortunately, that's a problem. None of our ancestors thought about corporations when they came up with these laws, right? And this is it's a monster we're going to have to deal with at sooner point. Yeah, because the reality is one of two things is going to happen. We're either going to go back to a very feudal system, which is frightening, right? Or we're going to go back, or we're going to become. The other option is we might go into a renaissance. There are arguments for both, right? We have we're right now in a struggle of systems, of which one is going to be dominant or merged or whatever, and then however right. So I'm looking to the fact that I know this, that if it gets to the point where the corporations win, I'm going to the mountains. I'm going fishing. Because you're like I understand. I will
totally. Totally, because it's just the government's forgotten that they work for us, and the government's forgotten that we pay them, and it's gotten because they've been able to create all these laws that benefit that small segment of the population that is government. You know, they built themselves raises. They give themselves huge pensions, and some of them have 3 pensions, and it's just.
We could spend a whole podcast talking about the Canadians
but what we need to do, and what happened with the Wild Rose Party and the Conservatives when they merged, and Brian Jean did not become the leader, we need to start electing people like Brian Jean, who are real people, and not career politicians like Jason Kenney.
Fair enough.
That's my take on it, because I mean Jason Kenney got his ass handed to him in Ottawa. Because the Conservatives got booted out.
All right.
And so he saw an opportunity and came to Alberta.
All right. So we are out of time. Yes. How can people contact you?
I have an email. It's Emily, EMILY, Picasso, PIKKASSO @gmail.com, and that's my horse's name and her daddy's name. That's funny. And I have a website. It's nancymval.ca.
Awesome. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
All right. All right.
And I have brought my other project person.
Oh, hello, Miss Other Project Person.
Shelley Kassian with me. Because we're in this together.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to read. Josh.
Shelley.
Katie.
All right. I remember you from the what is it, the book sale up there? Yes. All right. So you are the Women of Stampede.
Yes,
You are. So you guys do like a romance series kind of with the Women of Stampede, or what is it about?
Shelley and I came up with an idea to write a series of books based around the Women of Stampede. And we invited some experienced authors and some beginning authors to join us in the project, and we've all written books with heroines that are involved with the Stampede.
Ah.
In some way.
In some way? Are they different ways? Or
Yeah, like my book, for instance, has a female chuck wagon driver. Katie's book has a country western singer that appears on the Coca-Cola stage. Other authors may be roping a cowboy in their book or bareback riding. So a lot of different western themed events in the books too.
So why westerns? But
Because that's what the Stampede was built upon.
No, it's all
Years
cool.
ago, and from my point of view, I wanted to celebrate the Stampede, and they began as an exhibition based on Western culture and Western events.
All right, and do you feel the same way?
I do. I was heavily involved in the Stampede when I was much younger. I was involved with Guns of the Golden West, and we did mock gunfights on the Stampede grounds, which was really a lot of fun. And in my youth, I was a Winter Carnival princess, so I wanted to roll those experiences together in a book that meant something to me. And since Stampede was important, I thought this would be a good way to pull it together.
Tell that story. That's really cool. So, why? So, I take it you both take great pride in Western culture. So, for my listeners who may not be from the Calgary area, what is Western culture to you guys?
Well, to me, it's Alberta beef. That's an obvious. But a lot of people just aren't aware of the early chuck wagons and the stoves and the wagons. Just the life, the ranch life, farming. Because living in the big city, I just don't think people are as aware as they could be about the rodeo side of Calgary.
Fair enough. And do you?
I am partial to the whole rural life aspect. The horses, the cows, ranch life, small town living. I write a lot about that.
Are you from a small town?
Originally, yes.
Whereabouts, if you don't mind my asking?
I am from Fox Creek, which is halfway between Edmonton and Grand Prairie, middle of nowhere, little oil town. But I'm a Calgary girl now.
Yeah. How long you been here?
This time, 17 years, and then before that, 10 years.
Ah, and are you from Calgary originally yourself?
I lived here 20 years, but I grew up in Edmonton, so it was Klondike there. But whether I'd go to the Klondike exhibition or Calgary's exhibition, I found myself in the barns, attracted to the horses.
So did you ever do work on a farm yourself or anything like that?
No.
Why? Sounds like you kind of wanted to.
I think, yeah, and I have a cottage on the island now, and I like to go there, and it's peaceful and quiet, and maybe it's just this romance idea in my head that living on a ranch would be romantic and quiet and peaceful. I know that a lot of work would come with that too, but
It's honest work.
honest.
It's honest work. I said this. I dated a barrel racer, so she'd go to this farm. I go there once a week. I will only go there for a few hours, but the people that she was living with at the time, they were all very hard. They just did their job, and you always would go home kind of with a bit of a sense of pride in terms of what you did, even though it's not again the grand scheme of the universe. It's not a big thing, but you're taking care of yourself. You're taking care of your family. And honestly, those things are very, very self-affirming. So
I think farming is very important, farming and ranching, because they're feeding the world.
absolutely.
You don't go to the grocery store and find stuff there if there's not farmers.
No, farmers are very attacked, actually, in terms of what they can and cannot do in their rights today. It's a lot harder today to be a farmer and do it well than it was even 30 years ago. It's a lot tougher. I don't want to go completely down this road because that's a long conversation
Yes, it is.
we do not have. But no, I mean I respect anyone that actually wants to make a living tilling lands. It's very, very, it's not easy, and it's not the work. It's everything that comes around it at this point. It makes it really, really, really hard. But going in, so you guys are so the lifestyle is the romantic part, but like in terms of the romance genre itself, how do I put this? So how do you incorporate that into your story? Is that a big part of what you do, or is it just like kind of like you tell a story about a particular point in time and the romance is there kind of deal? Or
I write romances. The whole book is a romance.
okay, yeah. So okay, that's cool. And
My book followed the hero's journey.
okay,
So like Joseph Campbell, where you have to start in the original world. It's the first book I've written from the hero's point of view, but the hero was a woman, and her family's in trouble. The ranch is in trouble. It's threatened with foreclosure, and she's the hope for the future. But there's this clash with the past because they don't understand that they have this stampede history. So yeah, mine has romantic elements in that finding the past leads to romance and love, but it's also this distance a family has to go to achieve success and save the ranch.
fair enough. So are your books connected outside of the Women's Stampede brand?
They're all standalone novels,
Yeah, but I mean, are they in the same world, or are they just completely separate?
completely separate.
Okay, so is it going to be continuing obviously beyond you two? How many are in the series so far?
7.
Will there be more?
I'm planning another one,
Yes.
but I have some other commitments to meet before I can start writing it.
Fair enough.
So there may be more after this year.
We're both laughing because it's been so much work. Bringing a book to market is a ton of work.
It's a challenge.
It's a real challenge. Being an independent author is so hard. I think, as you probably know, the production work alone is.
It's interesting. Okay, so those are my books, right? I kind of got published by accident in my case. I was planning on making this an independent book, so most of the production values there especially are mine. But what ended up happening was one of my first customers, because it was originally as an ebook and I would just sell some for conventions, she liked it. She goes, what are you going to do with it? And when I told her my master plan, she goes, well, I just got a distribution deal with Ingram. I'll publish it. And that's kind of how this happened. My current book I'm releasing is going to be an independent published book, and I'm trying some different things out, like just in terms of distribution, like Radish, like things like that actually, which is something you guys may want to actually look into yourselves, because it definitely caters to the romantic genre, and it's serialized fiction. So if you have like a book that you can publish in bits and bytes, that might be something you guys want to check in the future.
I was just reading on that last night.
Yes. It's like I said, mine is not a romance book. That's why I think it might do well there, because they're looking to expand beyond that a little bit, but they're still looking for romance, and it's a big part of their market. So, but anyway.
I think for me, the best part of this whole project was the mentoring. We have 2 brand new authors that we invited to join us, and we mentored them for the whole thing, the plotting, the writing, the editing, the publishing. It was, I think, very good for all of us. We all learned a lot.
Yeah. So who'd you mentor?
We mentored.
Mentored. That's a word.
Yeah, well, okay, I'm maybe a little bit demented.
Nicole Roy and
CG first.
Nice. So CG was, did you guys like individually or both, or did you guys work with them like as a collaborative kind of deal?
Both of us did. I have an editing certificate, so I edited both books and found ways to bring their stories alive in the way that they wanted to tell them, especially CG's story. She had some backstory she had told in an interesting way, and we just needed to make sure that made sense to the reader. And I think we accomplished that just with the formatting.
Fair enough. And what did you contribute beyond dementing them?
Well, there's a lot of that. I helped with a lot of structural things, like if you took this scene and moved it over here, it would clear things up for the reader, and strengthening sometimes word choices.
Yeah.
General technique.
Fair enough. So, what do you think? Okay, so like the Western romance is very traditional. It is a very traditional kind of storytelling. Did you try to break the mold with yours, or did you kind of like stay within parameters?
I would say mine probably stays in parameters.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys gonna go above and beyond at some point with like push the envelope a little bit, or you guys are just gonna stay within? Are you comfortable with what you guys are telling right now?
I'm comfortable.
No, it's okay. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Push the envelope too.
I write romance as well as erotic romance. So my regular romance is very traditional, and my erotic romance is a little broader spectrum. Probably still fairly traditional, but
just you get a little bit more into some of the details.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. We are going to come to the point where they're going to kick us out really, really soon. So what I would like both of you to do, we'll go start with you, Shelley, and then we'll go with you, Kate. Tell your book, what's about, like your elevator pitch, and then how people can get a hold of you.
Okay, my book is The Half Mile of Baby Blue. It's about the distance a family has to go to save their ranch, as well as being a love story. And people can find my books at Chapters and Indigo stores, or reach me online at ShelleyKassian.com.
my book is Hearts in Spotlight. It is about a country singer that is facing life-altering changes, and a small innkeeper who has a very troubled past that she doesn't know clashes with the singer. So it's a very traditional book. You totally put me on the spot and my brain went dead. You can find some of my books in Chapters. The rest of them are available online, and my website is KTO Writes. So KTOH Writes at KTOWrites.com. Oh my goodness.
Deeper? I'm not that scary, am I?
Okay, really, this hot guy walked by out there, and I'm like, oh, would you look at that? I want him on my book.
Oh, okay.
Find true love right there.
Yeah, true something or other, right?
Well, I write those other books.
It's like, hey, I want you on. Okay, and what am I supposed to talk about here, right?
Yeah.
Fair enough. All
And
right.
I loved the excerpt that you read at that
Yeah. Well, thank you.
last event.
No, it was fun to do. This has also been very fun and interesting. My talking has ranged from naked girls reading. We ended up. So on last interview, we had someone come in here. We're talking. Don't have anyone touch the ice cream. I'm really, really tempted now to steal some ice cream. Just really. I wasn't tempted before, but now I'm like, because I unplugged this machine because it was just loud, right? And there was nothing in it. But it's like, don't know anyone mess with the ice cream. It's like.
A little bit of bad boy in there.
A little bit. Yeah, it just it is what it is. I saw your book actually at downtown. Actually, your books are there.
Are they?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I saw yours. Did not see yours, but yeah.
They're
Sorry.
slowly making their way inside the store.
And then, so you're gonna take over the world. You're gonna have kind of like this cackling little thing going on there. Yes.
It's a fabulous
plan.
feeling.
Yes, it's fine.
It's a fabulous feeling.
Yeah. Well, you guys have a franchise, kind of with the Women of Stampede. So I imagine that this will be your busy time.
It's going to be very busy.
Very busy.
Yes.
We have, over the next 2 weeks, we probably have 10 book signings and reading events. So.
You're not sleeping.
No, we're not, because we're nervous, and we stay up at night because we're nervous.
Nerves are good. It's good to be a little nervous when you do an event, because like I was a little nervous coming in today because I so feel a little bit like a fish out of water a little bit here, because I'm looking around. It's like, why am I so different from everybody else? And it's right.
Different is good.
Oh no, it is, but it's one of those things where you just kind of go, okay, you know what, roll with it. I'm gonna have fun with this with whoever comes in through the door. Keely was hilarious. You guys are fun. and yeah, just take whatever curveballs kind of come my way as well. And like you said, like the angry woman with the ice cream thing, I'm gonna keep that in there because that's just funny. So, but anyways.
Well, thank you very much,
Thank
Josh.
you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and at some point down the road, right, a longer conversation. And don't worry, I'm not scary. I promise.
I know you're not scared.
Yes, yeah, I promise I will not hurt you. I'll try to make you look good. I'm the one that makes an ass of myself on the thing. So, anyway.
I like that about you, though, Josh.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good luck with the rest of it.
Yes. Michelle, right? Danielle. Oh, I'm sorry. I listened to you earlier, and I was like, darn, you're good. I hope I'm not over my head
Where
here.
did you listen to me?
I heard you on YouTube first. And
Okay.
I heard you there. You were playing like a Baroque style kind of. So why Baroque? I haven't heard it. Like last time I heard Baroque kind of music was when I was in Arizona. I had a buddy of mine. He was a composer. He was composing some brand new. So where's your fascination of it coming from?
Well, it's interesting because I've been doing this, writing music for like 20 years, and so I've kind of dabbled into different styles, just in sort of a natural, organic process throughout the time that I've spent writing. But over the past few years, I've been spending a lot of time in Wisconsin, of all places.
Okay.
And there's this fellow, Pat McDonald, and he was in this band Timbuk 3 way back. His hit single in the 80s was "The Future's So Bright I Gotta Wear Shades." He's really good friends with Jackson Browne. They co-own this 50s retro motel in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, small town in Wisconsin. And 3 times a year, Pat invites his songwriter friends. He puts us in a circle, we spin the whiskey bottle, we get co-writing partners just randomly. So I had never done a lot of co-writing before. So I've been part of this circle now of people for 5-6 years. And in co-writing with those people, these different sort of styles have emerged until I kind of looked back on a bunch of the stuff I'd written after about 5 years and went, these songs feel like they belong together. So I released my latest CD, which is called Miss Scarlet and the Madmen, Dark Love Songs. And on one of the songs I think you're referring to is called It Must Be Roses.
Yes.
And it's got this sort of Baroque style. Well, that sort of came out of this songwriting process with these people in sort of an organic way. So it wasn't a choice like, I need to do that kind of music. It just sort of emerged from that process.
I have a bigger respect for musicians than I did even 3 weeks ago. So this is what I'll tell you why. So I'm working on a comic book called The Stick Figure Revolution. It's a very meta comic. It's about me drawing stick figures so bad that they revolt.
Right.
And I'm telling the story like I'm trying to do it like how Dr. Seuss would write a story.
Okay.
Now, if you read Dr. Seuss, there's a very musical quality in all his works.
Right. Yeah.
That is such a hard I'm worried about getting the beat right first, and then getting to and then I know the next drop we get into the hardest story, and it's going to be the fact that writing music is such it's a very multi-leveled kind of thing. I respected what you guys did. Don't get me wrong. But I respect it more now that I'm actually
because you're understanding
a lot more.
Yeah, you're understanding that the workings. It's like you can look at a clock or a grandfather clock and go, oh, that's really cool, and it tells the time. But like if you went in there and watched someone build the clock and how all the gears went together, you'd be like, oh my God, these clocks are like miracles.
These clocks are awesome.
Because now you know what it takes to construct that clock. You have a different appreciation for it. It's the same sort of thing.
Exactly. So
the mechanisms of the.
Some of them. I'm not going to say I'm not going to say I'm good. That's a completely different concept. But it's just, well, it's like anything else. Like you get around certain, like you do different things in your art, or in my case, my writing. It gets better, it gets deeper, it gets richer, because what happens is you're exploring. As you explore more, now you're just adding all these tools that were, when you really sit down and think about it, they were there all along, but now you have a shape and form and context to them you didn't before. Does that make sense?
It does to me.
Yes. I get where you're coming from.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense to me because I do understand that same process that you're talking about for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's where you are.
Experience that, and actually in the songwriting things, like Pat is like our executive producer in a way, and he's the creative director. So once we get our teams together and we write a song, we can't go to the studio with it until Pat comes in and listens to it, and he always like recommends a few tweaks, and he might usually they're not huge. It's usually fine tuning, but I am amazed he can listen to a song once through and just change like a couple words or one key word, and it just clicks into place. So I see him like as this real wordsmith and real crafting of the song. And before I started co-writing with some of these people, I was a songwriter who would kind of just go by an inspiration, let whatever come out, and some of those songs turned out really well, and you know,
It worked for you.
still like that process. But it's made me even more conscious of these mechanisms as well, where maybe I was doing them intuitively or subconsciously.
Oh, yeah.
Bringing consciousness to it, I'm now realizing I'm able to craft these songs. I've written 3 songs recently I'm going to play here today that I am super proud of, because I did take that time with them, and I went, instead of just settling for this verse here, I kind of went, well, actually, what is the full story? And what if I shifted just a few words around? And now the way they've unfolded, I'm like amazed at myself in a way, because it's like I look back at it and go, oh wow, I've actually got this really great arc and flow that I wasn't fully conscious of before.
So, but now you are more conscious. Now this is what happens. This is sad. Now that you're conscious of it, now you're more afraid to mess it up because you're aware of this
Well,
stuff.
no, because I think for me it's a flow between, because I think sometimes if you put things too much in your head and you try and construct it,
Yeah.
like the reason I like music or poetry, writing, is right brain, left brain. For
Yeah.
me, there's
Yeah.
people approach it different ways, but for me, I like the balance of like I just let things pour through intuitively, creatively in this wash,
Yeah.
but then I can put on my editor brain and go, okay, now let me deconstruct it. Once I've got the general concept and the mood and the words are there, then I can put on an editor brain and make sure that logically it's telling a story.
So-
So hop between right and left brain.
So for you get what you need to say down first, whatever that is.
However it comes out.
However it comes out.
It's like a brainstorming. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And then for you to draft 2, it's like, okay. It's like I got everything out.
Yeah.
Now what am I actually saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. And then you break that down, and you're
Yeah.
okay. And then sometimes it's like, and then later you're like, how can I pretty this up? Sometimes it's
Yeah.
more, but sometimes it's like, so I think I got it.
It's like taking abstract concepts and then putting a structure to them or something.
Yeah, it's like, well,
Try not to edit too much as it's coming out.
I call it quantifying, because
Okay.
what it is basically it's like you have like you take an abstract concept and you try to make it as real as you possibly can.
Right, right.
Does that make sense?
To me, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
this is a new band for you, kind of like a recent band.
Well, I can't call it a band. I mean, it's been a co-writing process.
Yeah.
So the new CD, I've called it Miss Scarlet and the Madmen, Dark Love Songs, and the Miss Scarlet and the Madmen is sort of a band. It's almost an alter ego, but where I'm sort of got this character Miss Scarlet, and the Madmen, they change out because I can't be with my Wisconsin song family all the time. When I'm in Wisconsin, those people are in and they're playing with me, but when I'm in Calgary, I've got madmen here I can bring in and they play with me. So the songs will change every time I perform them live, slightly in the arrangement, not in the structure of the song, because I like to play with like a tuba and accordion player here, and if they're not available, then I have a bass player or a mandolin player. So the songs are kind of colored differently depending on what instruments I bring in, and to me those are my madmen. So I have this like arsenal of madmen I can pull in, and I tour down to Reno quite a bit. So when I'm in Reno, I can bring in madmen there, and they help color the songs in a different way.
I see like a playing card, and each man's like a different suit in the card. So,
That's because the tarot for me is very tied in.
Interesting.
My next CD is going to be called Arcana, and it's based on the major minor arcana of the tarot. So yeah, you're dialed in. Or you get me, you understand me.
I do. There. we had a mock hug here on the air. They just there. So we were talking about dark love songs.
Yes.
So why is it dark love songs?
Well, it's a double entendre for me, a little bit of an inside, not joke, but an inside thing, where the songwriting intensives in Wisconsin, the one in October is around Halloween. They call it dark songs. So we have these themes. So we write dark songs. And then in February, we write love songs. And it can be love lost or love coming to you, whatever it may be. And so I kind of combine those two because the songwriting intensives I went to, I put dark love songs together because the material is also, I really like Tom Waits. And I love how he brings up these really dark, crazy, creepy elements, but then frames it in like a love song.
Oh, it's
lovely, yeah, you know. So then some of the songs I've written recently are creepy dark love songs.
So why creepy dark love songs? Is it?
I think that we're, as a culture, like if you talk about just a generalism of our media and what we're fed, it's all this beautification, everything should be perfect and quantized, and we better get Botox and all this kind of thing, where there's no such thing as perfect. So I think we need to embrace our shadow selves. So I'd rather take the shadow, bring it into our consciousness so that we can transform it into the light. That's my mission as an artist.
Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's a Jungian concept.
No, I know. So we don't have time for that conversation. So that would be shadow, that would be persona, that would be ego, and I can actually.
Yeah.
Are you a video gamer by any chance?
No, but
okay. Okay. So when this goes off, when I have a chance to talk to you a little bit later, we'll talk. There's a game I think you in particular would enjoy playing.
Okay.
Right, but for this. You're performing here at Sweet and Sultry Summer.
Mm-hmm.
So how's been the show so far?
Oh, really great. Yeah, it's been authors so far, and then I'm going to perform shortly here. And we've got like the naked girls reading. They're not actually naked today because we're in a, family event.
They one of them flashed me earlier. It was hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. Marjana has organized this amazing event, and to sort of bring the author community together, she invited me along because she thought that my music's aligned kind of with the theme of the event today. So I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, and that is very cool. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to have you say who you are,
okay.
Right? What your current album's are, how people can find you and hunt you down. Mm-hmm. Well, not hunt you down. That's a little extreme, but
so you can stalk me.
Maybe.
All right. There's more dark love songs in the mix here.
Yes, okay. Totally. So.
All right.
Might be right.
Okay, so my name is Danielle French, and my latest CD is called Miss Scarlet and the Madmen, Dark Love Songs. And you can find me on the web at www.daniellefrench.com, and I'll spell it. It's DanielleFrench.com.
Fair enough. And Instagram, Twitter, anything like that?
Yeah, Instagram is Danielle French Music. I'm not as active on social media as I should be because I just hate being tied to my phone so much. I like to have.
It's so weird. I know. I totally understand. It's a weird catch-22 for me. So I've gotten adequate at this social media thing. It's like I got 3,000 followers on Twitter, which that's not bad, right? But on the flip side, I'm like I'm on my phone all the time. I hate myself a little bit on that, right? But it's. You're damned if you do.
I know.
You're damned if you don't.
It's totally true, and I fight with it all the time. I mean, I could go into probably a half an hour rant about like being an artist these days, and that could be an artist whether you're an author, whether you're a musician, whether you're a filmmaker, whatever it may be, is trying to cut through in social media. Like it's a full-time job. When do we get to do our art?
Yeah.
So it's just the landscape.
It's funny because I've been looking at social media as an art form.
Sure.
Because so I look at Instagram. I'm a comic guy, right? So Instagram to me, I look at as a one-panel comic. You can do a thing every day, and like Instagram definitely tailors itself to that. Facebook and Twitter are a little different. I consider Twitter kind of like therapy for writers in general, right? But Facebook is a very convoluted monster. Yeah. That's my word for it.
I'm most active on Facebook just because it's
everybody's there.
The one that I started on, and so I have the most interaction with. I feel like on Twitter I do the odd thing, Instagram I do the odd thing, but I haven't delved into it enough to like feel like it's worth the effort of time I'm putting in right now. I'd have to put in a lot of effort to kind of catch myself up on those ones.
And
it feels daunting right now.
And it is kind of daunting. So it's not you're not wrong on that. And also
when you see this whole stuff that's happened with Cambridge Analytica and our data and everything, it makes me want to pull off social media altogether. Like we're being
mined.
We're being mined, and we're being also
programmed.
We're being fed propaganda that's specific to our demographic. This is not good for our society.
I've learned when it comes to social media, I avoid all memes like the plague. I don't care. I go on. I decided like for me I can't believe we're going this way, but we are going this way. I decided a long time ago that I was going to use my social media to have fun, because for me, I recognize the fact that at this point there's these algorithms that are trying to target me and figure out who I am, what I want, all that other wonderful bullshit. And some of it does work because, let's be honest, I like comic books, so I see comic books, like, ooh, pretty, right? That's totally it. But on the flip side though, I recognize too that since television is losing its power as a medium, because it is, this is how they're trying to create a different kind of, a more specified propaganda. And before, television would put everybody in this bubble.
Right.
Now they're trying to target everybody into their own bubbles.
Well, totally. And we can see how the U.S. election was potentially influenced by this sort of target marketing. That's the whole Russia scam, right?
Well, not just the Russia scam. Just the Russia scam. I
want to jump in and say one thing.
Can I jump in and say one thing?
Is that something I think that's really important that you kind of are touching on, that we're both saying, is that I think we need to be conscious of how we're using these mediums. We see people who are not aware totally of what is happening, and they're either spilling their lives on the social media platform, or they're they're just having rants. I try and be very conscious of how I'm using this platform now, so I try not to air all my dirty laundry out there.
No.
Try and keep a positive spin, because I'm also recognizing as a musician, I'm promoting myself to a degree on this platform, using it as a promotional platform, but I also want to be authentic, so I want to be me. But if I have a bad day, I'm not posting all these negative comments. I want it to be positive. And now I'm looking at opening a cannabis store. So now I'm using it as a platform to try and educate people to help remove the stigma of cannabis, because I'm not a user myself, but I believe in the medicinal properties of the plant, and I agree with legalization, and people should have the choice. So I am now using it as a platform to help inform the greater public about what it actually is. At
some point, I would love to have you back on the show for a longer period of time, so we could actually do this properly.
I know we could talk about a million subjects.
Totally. You're awesome. Good luck. Good luck with your music. I hope it keep going.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and if you do have a CD here, I would happily try to get one.
I will grab you one. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you.
Okay.
And that was part one, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to do a standard ending with this episode. I'm just going to say stay tuned for part two, which will be coming up real shortly. I had a blast with each and every lady here. Thank you guys for being part of my show. Thank you to MJ and Colette for letting me do this. All right, that's it from me. Stay inspired. The next episode will be coming real soon. All right? All right.
Josh.